It's so easy to avoid a really valuable exercise or movement when you've had a history of pain associated with that movement. I get it. There are so many things that I could and potentially should do for my hips, but that I haven't because I've known that there was a risk that it would hurt. And I've just been so sick of feeling pain in my hips, so sick of feeling gravelly, crunchy, gross, that certain things I just rarely touch on. But recently I've realized that I can go into these ranges and explore things in my own way, in a new way, in a way where I throw out all the cues that anyone else has given me and where I just chase the sensations that feel good. So for me, this means worrying less about external form markers and worrying more about just juicy feelings of contraction in the muscles, or the sensation of space in my joints, or being able to genuinely relax into and enjoy something which is also an active contractile movement. So here, the first one, the tailor's pose or butterfly, this isn't super risky for me. Like sometimes I get a bit of impingement at the bottom if I don't anteriorly tilt my pelvis enough, or a bit of sacrum issues if I don't really sit on my sit bones, but generally it's okay. This one, however, the frog, it is so easy for me to feel crunching in the front of my hips, to feel just the most gross sensations. And so what I've done here is given myself 3 minutes to just really gently explore the position, starting not in the deepest range that I can, but at least 20% out of that. And my focus is on being active all the time. Every single part of what you see here is active. You can see there I'm trying to hover one knee, try to hover the other knee. I'm exploring what that does, hovering my heels, which muscles are working there. How does my hip feel? Do I feel there's more space or less space, more control, less control, more safety or less safety? What can I do that makes me feel really in touch with this picture of my hips? And how can I understand the landscape around this movement to see what's going to be safe and nurturing and progressive and what's going to set me back? So guys, give yourselves time in the movements you don't like, but really do everything you can to detach from any expectation of how it has to look, where it has to get you. Just visit it as a completely new thing. If you need to go and train away from other people to do that so that you don't feel judged, you probably won't be judged. But even the feeling that someone's watching, the feeling that you have to do something that you used to be able to do, that can be enough to just get in your head and disrupt you from following pure intuition. Take the time for yourself. Do it in an intuitive way. Do it in a way where you listen to your body. Here, the Bruce Lee kick, as I like to call it. This is me just pressing against that pole, trying to spread my legs, but also remain connected through the mid-thighs. So the sumo deadlift is a really good example of how that cue comes into its own, where we're maintaining a sense of a secure midline near the pelvis by squeezing the thighs together, at the same time as, almost paradoxically, spreading the floor or spreading the feet apart. This is perhaps a hard one to understand initially, but I would really encourage you to connect with this cue. It's a snugness of the inner thighs connecting up high right near the groin, and at the same time, a sense of length or projection through the legs, which helps you to connect with your glute medius. What does this all equate to? Well, space at depth. So it means that when I cue it this way, I can get into a wider, deeper position, and I can press powerfully through that position without feeling crunchy or grindy or like I'm going to run into trouble. If you can understand that in one position, like the sumo or the Bruce Lee kick here, or even the frog or the tailor's pose, then you can start to apply it to similar positions. You can start to apply those understandings of safety or those little mental physiological maps of the body to other positions which are similar enough that there's a common feeling or common thread. And from that thread, or from that, perhaps a better word is like tree trunk of knowledge of your own body, you can start to branch out into less familiar things. But if you don't do that, if you just try to skip into all of these movements and see them as completely individual things, and if you get caught up on the branches and not that trunk of self-knowledge, then you're likely to get lost. You won't have the reference points you need, and it's much easier to run into pain and to not understand why. And it's not pain that bothers us, it's not understanding why we're in pain and how we can fix it. Anyway, This is the last movement of the day. This is the middle split get up. And at the top, I'm tucking my hips under. Now this motion of going from hips sticking out and back, or anterior tilt, Kim K style bum, to hips tucking under, which you'll see happening right about now, that's one where most people can have issues because the hip anatomy really isn't built to do that in the easiest way. So you really have to squeeze your thighs together. And then as you move through the pelvic tilt, you have to see how you go from those big backside adductors working, those big backside inner thighs muscles, to the more hip flexory front side inner thigh muscles, which feel smaller and higher up. So this is good because we can start to transition not just from like one muscle group, but through multiple smaller connected muscle groups with a movement that feels more 3D. Hope you enjoyed, guys.